Now, I do want to say here, before we get into tonight's news story, a couple of days ago, I watched a video posted from the hacker group Anonymous attempting to expose Elon Musk as just another narcissistic billionaire. It went on talking about his overseas lithium mines that are polluting the local environment, how a majority of Tesla's income doesn't come from selling cars, but actually from government subsidies, and generally how his overall quest to save the world is actually rooted in a superiority and savior complex rather than to save humanity, citing his recent engagement with Bitcoin, among other things. So take this as you will. Neuralink is developing a whole brain interface, essentially a network of tiny electrodes linked to your brain that the company envisions will allow us to communicate wirelessly with the world. It would enable us to share our thoughts, fears, hopes, and anxieties without demeaning ourselves with written or spoken language. Good evening. You are listening to another episode of Black Man Into the Wild. I'm blessed to be here with you all tonight, and I'm blessed to have you here with me as well. Tonight we're going to be talking about Neuralink, a neurotechnology company developing implantable brain-machine interfaces, headquartered in San Francisco and founded by Elon Musk, along with a larger group of neuroscience, biochemistry, and robotics experts. But before we get started tonight, if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share with your friends if you like what you hear. Neuralink wants to wire your brain to the internet. What could possibly go wrong? This from the Scientific American. Through his Tesla and SpaceX ventures, Musk has already ruffled the feathers of some formidable players, namely the auto, oil, and gas industries, not to mention the military-industrial complex. These are feathers that mere mortals dare not ruffle, but Musk has demonstrated a brilliance, stubborn persistence, and a knack for revenue generation that emboldens resolve. However, unlike Tesla and SpaceX, Neuralink operates in a field where there aren't any other major players, for now at least. But Musk has now fired the starting gun for competitors, and industry-leading professionals believe that a neuro revolution is imminent. Now check this out. This is Colonel. Colonel is one of Neuralink's competitors. Their original goal was to develop a way to store memories outside of the brain and then upload new memories to the hippocampus, which is the brain's memory center. The tech startup in 2017 boasted that it could boost human intelligence using neural chip implants. However, their excitement was a little bit premature, as the technology was just not there yet for the exciting products that they had in mind. So I guess over the years, the company has changed directions and is now seeking to develop technologies which can both measure and stimulate electrical activity from small groups of neurons, which are the specialized cells in the brain that transmit nerve impulses. So you see, this is just one of a couple of companies that are attempting to reach this similar new frontier along with Neuralink. There are a number of technological hurdles between Neuralink and its ultimate goal. There is reason to think they can surmount these and reason to think they won't. While Neuralink may ostensibly be lumped in with other AI big data companies in its branding and general desire to bring humanity kicking and screaming into a brave new world of their making, what it's really doing isn't altogether new. Instead, it's how it's going about it that makes Neuralink special, and a potentially major player in the next chapter of the human story. So, by now, I'm sure you've either seen this video or heard about it somewhere. This video is titled Monkey Mind Pong, and it's a rhesus macaque monkey that has a Neuralink implanted under the skull on its brain. And I actually watched a video of a Stanford professor with an MD and a PhD in bioengineering explain in detail really just how incredible this new technology is and how it represents some pretty exciting steps forward in the fields of neuroscience and robotics. And he points out actually in the video how you can see the site of where the surgery was done to place that implant on the monkey's brain. And I guess the wireless aspect of this brain to computer interface, I think is really what would be considered the most prominent and innovative technology on display here. Over time, phones lost their cords, computers shrunk in size, and we figured out ways to make them exponentially more powerful and portable enough to fit in our pockets. Eventually, we created virtual realities and melded our sentient reality with an augmented one. But if Neuralink were to achieve its goal, it's hard to predict how this story plays out. The result would be a whole brain interface so complete, frictionless, biocompatible, and powerful that it would feel to users like just another part of their cerebral cortex, limbic, and central nervous systems. A whole brain interface would give your brain the ability to communicate wirelessly with the cloud, with computers, and with the brains of anyone who has a similar interface in their head. This flow of information between your brain and the outside world would be so easy it would feel the same as your thoughts do right now. But if that sounds extraordinary, so are the potential problems. First, Neuralink is not like putting an implant in your head designed to manage epileptic seizures or a pacemaker in your heart. This would be elective surgery on presumably healthy people for non-medical purposes. Right there, we're in a completely different ballpark, both legally and ethically. Second, because Neuralink is essentially a communication system, there is the small matter of regulation and control. Regardless of where you stand on the whole privacy and surveillance issue, it's hard to imagine a scenario in which there would not be an endless number of governments, advertisers, insurers, and marketing folks looking to tap into the very biological core of our cognition, to use it as a means of thwarting evildoers and selling you stuff. And what's not to look forward with that? And what if the tech normalizes to such a point that it becomes mandatory for future generations to have a whole brain implant at birth to combat illegal or immoral behavior, however defined? This obviously opens up a massive set of questions that go far beyond the technical hurdles that might never be cleared. It nonetheless matters that we think about them now. There's also the issue of security. If we've learned one thing from this era of smart everything, it's that smart means exploitable. Whether it's your fridge, your TV, your car, or your insulin pump, once you connect something to something else, you've just opened up a means for it to be compromised. What it really all comes down to is this. Across a number of fields at the intersection of law, philosophy, technology, and society, we're going to need answers to questions no one has yet thought of asking, at least not often enough. We have faced, are facing, and will face incredibly complex and overwhelming problems that we may well not like the answers to, but it matters that we ask good questions early and often. If we don't, they'll be answered for us. And so Neuralink is probably a bad idea. But to the first person who fell into a fire pit, so is fire. On a long enough timeline, even the worst ideas need to be reckoned with early on. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been another episode of Black Man Into the Wild. Have a good night.